and we can send that out to everybody. Okay. Well, it looks like we have, I think, everybody here that we were expecting. So welcome, everybody. Thank you. Again, thank you for jumping between two meetings. I think that was incredibly powerful, and I think it is a good practice for us as a board to be not only hosting those events, but attending them and taking board time and board space to attend those events. We've talked about in the past of having kind of shared language. I think this was something that came out of earlier in the summer, is having that shared language and shared understanding on the board, and events like that, and understanding how racial covenants, redlining, and kind of both structural and explicit racism plays into the shaping of our cities, I think is incredibly important, and for us to all understand and be able to acknowledge that and directly address it in the work that we do as a neighborhood board. So that's all I will say. We have some new folks here tonight, so wanted to do quick introductions, and then it's obviously going to be a short agenda. The majority of what we're going to do today is hopefully welcome 2 new board members, and then quickly talk about what we just saw in the first hour. So pretty light, pretty easy, and hopefully we'll get some kind of good takeaways and discussions around mapping prejudice. So I will start with an introduction, and we'll ask folks to please call on someone else after they go. We will do names, pronouns, addresses, and I think we'll maybe keep it at that to keep it moving fairly quickly. So Chris DeRoche, I am the board chair, he, him, and I am on the block, the 4400 block of Grand Avenue, and I will call on David S., who is next to me on the screen.
Hello, I'm Dave Searle, and my pronouns are he, him, and I live on 38th and 1st. And I will call on other David.
Hi, I'm David R. I live on 44th and Wentworth, and I use he, him pronouns, and I will call on Alice.
Hi, I am Alice Johnson, and I am on the 4300 block of Grand, and I'm just about to fix my name thing there, and she, her. And I will call on Becky.
Hi, I'm Becky Dankowski. I live on the 4000 block of Garfield. She, her pronouns. I will call on Jerome.
Hi, I'm Jerome. Now I'm unmuted. I use he, him pronouns. I live on the 3900 block of Pleasant Avenue, and I will call on BJ.
Hi, everyone. I'm BJ Titus. I use he, him pronouns, and I live at 38th and 1st, and I will call on Sarah Cheetah.
Hey everyone, I'm Sarah T. I live on 36th and Pillsbury, she, her pronouns. Mike.
I am Mike Skinner. I live on the 4200 block of Blaisdell, and I use he, him pronouns. And let's see here, is there L'Oreal?
Hi, I'm L'Oreal. I go by the she, her pronouns, and I'm on 40th and Harriet. Sarah LR, you can go.
Thanks, L'Oreal. Sarah Linus Robinson. I am the staff person with the Kingfield Neighborhood Association. Our office is at 35th and Nicollet, north of U-Haul. She, her pronouns. I'll call on Todd since we were just chatting in the chat.
Hi, everybody. Todd here. He, him, and I'm just listening in today. I hope to be a board member at some point.
And then I think we're just left with Katie, right?
Hi, Katie Sheeter at 46th and Pleasant.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. So I will, I probably should have done this before, but I'll officially call the meeting to order. Can we approve the consent? It looks like we do have quorum, so we're good there. And can we please approve the consent agenda, which includes the agenda for tonight, which I should have asked for this. Could someone please throw that in the chat if it's not already there? and approve December's minutes. If someone could move that, that would be great.
So
I
moved.
move to approve. Yeah. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, thumbs up, ayes. Opposed and abstentions. Great. So in the sake of time, I will kick it right over to the next agenda item, recruitment committee nomination. I think talking a little bit about some of the background work that has been done. So I'm not sure who's going to take that from that group.
Yeah, I will put the nomination form here in the chat. This was sent out last week for everyone to review, and I'm actually going to kick it over to Jerome, who is going to go through that memo. Sorry, I got you mid-bite.
Those who don't know, I always seem to somehow be eating my dinner during these meetings, so I'm happy to keep that streak going. I am now going to pull up this document here so we can just quickly review it. One moment, please. So what this document essentially does is kind of reviews the results and the process of our recruitment working group over the past few months. So if you've looked at it, what I'm about to do will feel very repetitive. If you haven't, you may be enlightened. Essentially, our working group gathered a few times over the course of October, November, and December, and into this month. We had a pretty robust process to get applications and recruit folks to apply, and also developing the application questions, and then working with the criteria we established as a board to propose a slate of candidates to be voted on today. Those two folks are here with us, Katie Blanchard and L'Oreal Robayo. So essentially, the memo runs through the process that we took to reach that decision. We made calls for applications publicly on the Kingfield Facebook group and the newsletter, and going back to October of last year, and set a deadline for applications of December of last year, December 20th. We, as a working group, looked at the many applications we received, and in conversations with the board, we laid out the criteria that we tried to use to make our recommendation. Essentially, candidates that aligned with the values of KFNA and commitment to shaping ourselves into a body that represents our neighborhood. We asked board members to keep that stuff in mind as they were encouraging folks in their networks to apply. We had a pool of 6 applicants, and we reviewed those. We invited the full board to review them. The working group met again with the full board's recommendations for those who had read through those applications. A few of you sent over some thoughts. We had our thoughts. And at the end of the process, it was challenging because there were a lot of really good candidates in the list. But at the same time, we did find a pretty good consensus among ourselves as a working group, and even among the others on the board who made recommendations. And you can read more about our folks here, and maybe we'll talk about them in a little bit. And for the people who we did not put forward as a slate, we've already reached out to them to encourage them to stay involved with KFNA, and also to consider running for seats later this year when we have more folks more seats that'll be up for re-election, and just broadly hope that they would stay connected to our work and to the community. So that is the memo. Sarah, should I also just talk through the individual folks that we are putting forward today, or is that later in the process?
You can go ahead and talk through it if you'd like. I think our hope is that the nominees can introduce themselves too a little bit later in the meeting. But yeah, if you wanted to talk through the information here, go for it.
Sure, sure. So again, if you've read this, you know where we're coming from, but I'm happy to talk through it again because I'm excited about these folks. They're here on the call today. Again, Katie Blanchard is someone I've worked with in the past. She's an experienced organizer and she's been active in Kingfield around issues of safety and justice for a while. And as we've talked about here as a board in our sort of continued shift toward a model that is more based around organizing, we think that that experience will be really vital in helping us continue that transition. And those are strengths that we need as strengths of our board. We were really impressed by Katie's understanding of racial equity and anti-racism, and really the value of reaching across lines of difference and what can be accomplished when we do that. L'Oreal Rubayo, she's attended these meetings before, and in her application, we were impressed with her commitment to values of equity and inclusiveness. This is kind of work that she's done in other roles that she has in her life. Her commitment to service and volunteering was also impressive. And in our commitment to having a board that looks more like our neighborhood, we know that some of the identities that she holds have been underrepresented on this board for some time. And both the combination of her not just representation, but also her ability made her another strong choice for this slate. So those are our two folks that are here on the call today. Welcome to both of you. And I will turn it back over.
Awesome, thanks, Jerome. So at this point, our action item is we seek motions to seat each of the nominees. So I think procedurally how that goes is if somebody makes a motion, we have a second and then discussion before we vote. Is that the right order? Okay, then if there's any questions, we can take those now. Otherwise, I will just seek the first motion to seat Katie Blanchard as a board member.
Second.
Oh, sorry, I need the first motion. Are you the first motion?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Second.
Thanks, David R. Is there any discussion? And Chris, should you be doing this as president? Sorry.
Yeah, maybe, but I like it. I was just seeing if you were doing a great job. I think if there's no discussion, I will just say I am very excited for both of you joining the board. So I will move it to a vote. I seem to be freezing a little bit right now, but okay. Move it to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Thumbs up. Yes in the chat. Opposed?
Aye.
And abstentions? That motion passes. And we move on to the second. Can I get a motion to seat L'Oreal?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, I will ask for a vote. All those in favor say aye, or thumbs up, or in the chat.
Aye.
Opposed and abstentions. Congratulations. So you now too, welcome to the KFNA board. Thank you so much for applying. I will just say to reiterate, I think it was the point that Jerome made, there were many good candidates that came, and I just want to really thank everyone who submitted. I really want to thank the recruitment, David, Sarah, and Jerome, for the work that was done to create this process and to do the hard work of thinking about building a board for the future and building a board that represents all the things that we have been working towards and talking about. So not to put pressure on Katie and L'Oreal, but we are very excited to have you, and we're very excited for your contributions on the board. And so we will be going through kind of a more, I'm sure Sarah and Jerome and David maybe talk to you a little bit more, but some sort of defined orientation process to get you guys kind of up to speed with how we operate. But in the meantime, thank you so much, and we're excited to have you. With that said, I guess, is there anything else anyone would like to say on that, those two votes and that agenda item? Moving on to the next agenda item, which is really the same agenda item, but is introductions. I think Sarah hinted at this too. We would love both of you to kind of introduce yourself, talk a little bit about who you are, and just kind of give you a little bit of overview to the board. So maybe we'll go in order of vote. So Katie, do you want to go first, if that's okay?
Sure. Katie Blanchard, yeah, down at 46th and Pleasant. I have lived in Minneapolis at various points in my life, just moved back about 2 years ago to the neighborhood, and actually feel like I most got to get to know neighbors beyond my block at the start of COVID, as people were beginning to connect around, you know, both meeting needs and also finding ways to be in touch as we started to be isolated. And then especially this summer, the first like gathering of more than 2 humans that I was with this entire year once COVID started was the meeting that happened in MLK Park the weekend after George Floyd was murdered, when the neighborhood was kind of coming together to figure out how to have some community-based safety. And from that moment, I started to get to know many neighbors all over the neighborhood, and I've been really grateful to connect with neighbors who, yeah, like just want to be a part of so much transformational work in our part of the city and throughout the city. I have been an organizer in many sort of different formats and contexts, both big national organizations and really small grassroots projects here in Minneapolis. As a student, organizing with college students all over the country. I lived in Chicago for 5 years before moving back here, and had thought that I would be a freelance graphic designer for much of my life, and the experience of organizing again a lot this summer in the uprisings had me dive back into a whole lot of organizing, and actually just started a few months ago as the movement building director at Take Action Minnesota, organizing statewide, especially on efforts to just to build and connect the progressive movement across the state. So super excited to join you all on the board. Of course, wish we could be in person, and look forward to getting to know everybody better.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. L'Oreal?
Hi, so I'm L'Oreal. I'm on 40th and Harriet. I'm actually from Waseca, which is a small town about an hour south of here. And I just moved to Kingfield just as the pandemic started, and we had to shelter in place. So I haven't got to like go out and explore and like meet everybody, but I'm excited to hopefully start connecting with neighbors. But my partner is from the neighborhood. I've traveled and lived abroad for the past 5 years. I've lived in Spain, Puerto Rico, and volunteered in Greece with Syrian refugees. So I'm excited to call Minnesota home again. Currently, I'm a student at Bemidji State University doing online, getting my online degree in social work and criminal justice. My goal is just to be a positive change in our community, and as Katie said, just be a part of that transformative, be progressive and help change. And I'm excited to be here. So thanks for welcoming me on the board, and I'm excited to start to work and get things done.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you to both of you. So again, welcome. We're super excited to have you. And as you said, L'Oreal, we apologize that we can't do this in person and go maybe out to Lowbrow or something after, but this is where we are. So I will move it on to our next agenda item, which is the mapping prejudice discussion. So I think the goal of this was to moving from a pretty powerful presentation and a pretty powerful and impactful history of our city, ensuring that we don't move on without actually having discussions around that as a group here, and thinking about how that both applies to our work and to the folks in our neighborhood and to our city at large. So we didn't have any kind of specific questions or agenda items for this section, but I think it was to kind of break out, talk about some takeaways, and I would encourage folks to think about how that presentation, how racial covenants, how systemic racism apply to our work here as a board. And I think it was Sarah T. and you had mentioned it in the chat, maybe a little bit about how neighborhood organizations have contributed to this work, or to that system, and racial covenants, and both overt and systemic racism in our city. And I think living in that a little bit, I think, is important as a neighborhood association board. So are there any questions about yes, and what actions KFNA can do moving forward, taking all that information in? So any questions about that discussion? We'll break out. It looks like we're just on schedule, so we'll break out for about 20 minutes. Sarah LR, do you have rooms ready for folks? Or could you get rooms ready for me?
Yeah, no, it's just, it will be random. There'll be random rooms, just so everyone knows. And so I would say we probably should do 15 minutes in rooms, Chris, and then a minute to pull back. I think it's important for people to have the minute to report back. Just so people are aware, when we're in breakout rooms, it's not recorded. So anything that you want to officially be in the minutes or be remembered, or takeaways or actions, needs to be called out when you come back from your group.
Perfect. So 15 minutes. So we'll come back at 8:45. So be aware. And how many people are you putting in groups there?
I'll do 3 rooms.
That'd be 4.
Yeah. 3 to 4 people per room.
Okay.
Slightly bigger.
If you want to do 4, that's fine too. But there we go. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Our conversation went very quickly and I got caught off mid-sentence, but I hope that was at least a little bit helpful. I'm sorry we didn't have more time. I feel like that was, it was great to talk through it a little bit, or just talk through our experiences and tying that to all other sorts of things within the neighborhood and roles that the board can have. So I think we just really do briefly, just like report outs. I'm sure you all talked about a lot of stuff, but does anyone know who's in group? I think I was group 3. Myself, Katie, and David asked for group 3. Do you know who group 1 was? And do you want to do a quick report out on your discussion?
I think Mike, Sarah, T, and I were room number 1. And we just talked about kind of our reactions. Sarah T and I had been to the Hennepin History Museum exhibit of Mapping Prejudice last 2 years ago, whenever it was. COVID makes everything blurry. So we talked a little bit about that, kind of how it changes when it's a kind of a curated thing versus hearing people talk about it. And then we started to get into, which of course was the last 2 minutes, we started to get into the action items, what we can be doing, and talking a bit about, how do you talk to children about why the city is segregated, and having those conversations so that they understand it, and how to go about doing that. But that's those 15 minutes went by really, really fast, unfortunately. And Sarah and Mike, I don't know if you have other things to add.
I think that pretty well encapsulated it.
I think that's great. I'll just add, thinking about the disturbing images and descriptions of the white mobs showing up at Black families' doorsteps. And part of the Hennepin History Museum exhibit was talking about neighborhood organizations kind of banding together to form some of those mobs, and thinking about how we as an organization can really organize people for good or for not good purposes, and our duty to organize people for good.
Awesome. Those who are in group 2, do you know you were in group 2, and could you do a quick report out?
Yeah, I think that was us.
That was us? Okay. We were just basically expressing a lot of, I guess surprise is one word, but also just really reflecting on the idea of how far down in the rankings our city and our state are in terms of the gaps in all kinds of metrics between people of color and white folks, and sort of talking through, how redlining and how racial covenants sort of fed into that for folks coming home from the war, for example, not being able to take advantage of any of the programs available to people post World War II, just because of the ways they were shut out of the system by those two systems. So, and then also just thinking about the ways that racism manifests itself differently in different parts of the country, which is the quote we struggled to remember, but I just put into the chat.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Alice, we were
Because
having
I'm looking for it. I'm looking for it. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. I think I was in group 3, but I talked too much, so I'm going to push it to Katie or David S. to give our report out.
I can do it. We talked about, it struck all of us what the presenters shared about somebody who does GIS mapping saying like the map of these covenants is the map of every disparity in Minneapolis, and talked about the question of reparations being something that, like, yes, is a question about policy that puts money in people's pockets, but also about so many decisions that get made that neighborhood organizations can influence, like how schools get funded, where parks get put, what gets investment and what doesn't, and how, like, just questions about how helpful it could be for neighbors and communities to be clearer about decisions being made, yes, for anti-racism and to build diverse communities, and also even explicitly to right specific past harms such as covenants.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. Was there a group 4? Or was there? Okay, group 4.
Yeah. So we talked about generally our I dominate a lot of the conversation, as I'm prone to do, but I, I think one of the overarching themes is our history in Minneapolis and the United States is a history of specifically attempting to make sure that our neighborhoods are segregated, and that certain segments of society are set off from living in neighborhoods. And doing nothing would not correct that wrong. So I think one of the questions that this neighborhood organization needs to ask itself is, how can we affirmatively support undoing a past harm? We shouldn't put it all on us because it's not fair. We're not a public body. We're a pseudo public body. But I think that we should look at, especially for housing and the importance of housing, supporting affordable housing programs, which we do, but I also talked about maybe like a toolkit that we could have to support vendors, lenders, realtors, whoever, who are supportive of desegregating Kingfield and desegregating South Minneapolis, and putting that toolkit somehow within the framework of, I don't know, the redevelopment committee, but making an affirmative effort, I guess, to support folks moving into the neighborhood who are looking for affordable housing and who have historically been discriminated against in South Minneapolis. So.
Awesome. Thanks, David. I will just, because you mentioned it, David, I will just throw a pitch. Redevelopment is kind of in the very early stages of working on what we're calling, the Alliance was mentioned in that meeting. The Alliance has created an equitable development scorecard along with a bunch of other community partners. And we are working both with, well, I guess with our partners who were just on that mapping prejudice call, Lena and Tangletown, on hopefully developing that, working with community, doing engagement, and then rolling out an equitable development scorecard, which I think, as you described, David, would look a lot like that. And I think it can be shaped in all sorts of different ways. So that's in the pipeline. And if folks are interested in getting more involved in that, please let Sarah, LR, or myself know. Was there a group 5? Just okay. Cool.
No, but if I can just add, there is a equitable scorecard wider meeting talking about implications of using a scorecard in a different community at 2:00 tomorrow afternoon. If anyone wants that link, right, Chris? You sent it to me. If anyone wants a link to that, let me know. And then I just wanted to comment too about Katie's comment about policy work, which I think is an area where Kingfield could make an impact. And I think that policy work never sounds super sexy, but it does have huge implications. And I'm thinking even of the park dedication fees. Developers have to pay money to go to parks in neighborhoods where they are building new housing. And that money is right now being stockpiled in wealthier neighborhoods where more housing is being built than in less wealthy neighborhoods where housing isn't being created. And so looking at that tool, which on the surface sounds great, and yet it's creating greater inequity.
Thanks, Sarah. I think that's a really good point too. So we have 4 minutes left. So those L'Oreal and Sarah or Katie, we do something at the end of the meeting. It is on the agenda where we kind of do quick report outs, just to kind of say one thing that you're interested in, excited about, engaged with, saw in the community, or just would like to share with the board more generally. So we kind of go down this list, so yeah, if you have anything, or don't feel pressure if you don't. So
and Chris,
I will. Yeah,
Chris, don't forget to add Katie and L'Oreal to the people to report out.
Yes, I think. Do you see that now? I thought I did it. Okay, cool. Thanks, BJ. Becky. Sorry.
No, that's good. Okay, so I do have something I'm especially interested in. I know many of you know this already, but we were robbed Christmas morning. Our front window, one of our front windows on our front door was busted open. Someone reached in, unlocked our door and stole our Christmas presents. So that was fun. Also, they went upstairs, which was more alarming, into my daughter's bedroom. So we've had that fun around here. And just a few days ago on the block next to us, a family was having food delivered and the guy got out of his car and somebody drove up, jumped into his car, stole his car, drove away. I'm sure most of you know what happened at the coffee shop. So I'm feeling this really close, really close to my own house, kind of, obviously this uptick in crime is well documented and everybody knows about it. So I'm just hoping at some point, maybe we can talk more about it, specifically like what else we might be able to do just as a neighborhood to help because I know my neighbors are all pretty freaked out right now. So what else we can do as a neighborhood to reach out to people and to try to help make people feel safer. And then my other thought is that I just keep thinking about is like, it's just stuff I can replace. And how did we get to this place in society like that this is what these are the choices people are left with. Like I'm really feeling my privilege and my everything else because of this more so than ever. So I don't know, just questions like that. I keep kind of going through my head. Anywho, that's it.
Thank you, Becky. And I think I know, I guess I don't want to speak for everyone on the board, but just, I'm sorry that happened. And I hope, this is something that we've been talking about as a board in engaging around public safety and what that means in our community. And I think continuing to have those conversations and I would love, to engage with you more on what, having that experience and also kind of, helping either set those conversations up with the board or the broader community. So there was a question in the chat about the coffee shop that you mentioned, Becky. Royal Grounds on 42nd and Grand was robbed during the day, and Joanne's car was stolen, and she was I'm not sure the exact details, but was either punched or hit or something happened, and so there was a GoFundMe set up for them because I believe that they were closed for a few days. I'm not sure if they're back open, but that's what happened at Royal Grounds. So I've reached out to them. I know other folks reach out to them. We have someone who's engaged who lives right across the street too, who has been kind of providing some information and some support to them as well too. So if there's any questions about that, I know Sarah LR, you spoke with them and reached out with them too. So if there's any questions about that, feel free to ask or share, or let us know and we can connect you too. So cool. Thank you, Becky. It's me. I will say one of the things that the Streets Committee has been thinking about is snow shoveling. And we have a group of 4 of us. Aaron Ielka, who is actually on that last call, is one of our community members. Thinking about how we could possibly do like a snow shoveling pilot or help folks who, for whatever reason, are having trouble shoveling in the neighborhood and we know there's so many people who want to help, right? We saw that at the beginning of COVID. So many people who want to help, could we connect those folks? And so it's kind of just an initial conversation, but if anyone is interested in that, and Chris, sorry, I forgot Chris H is also helping with that initiative too. So if there's anyone interested in that or has ideas around that, we're kind of we had one kind of quick initial meeting about it, and we're starting to work on some possible surveys or maps that could go out identifying those things. So that is my update, and I'll move it to Chris H.
My thing sounds so dorky after all that, but I jog in MLK Park a couple times a week, and in the last couple weeks I've just seen a lot of kids sledding with their parents, and it's so cute and it makes me so happy. So yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Lisa H is not here. Alice.
Yeah, so it's a mixed bag as we're out and about and see people doing sledding and skiing and skating on the lake. Our neighbors here also, because we live so close to Borough Grounds, we're pretty engaged in that one, and I began starting a fundraising just on our block, but then joined into the GoFundMe. So I think that's a discussion that, a lot of people want to find a positive way to have an engaged discussion about it. But it's a lot of ups and downs and pluses and minuses everywhere. So next we have
I think it's me.
Jerome.
Yeah, I don't have anything really to report, but I've been thinking a lot about as 2020 drew to a close, a lot of people, and me included, just really happy to see that year behind us, and also hopeful that this year's better. But then also thinking that, there's no magical dust that gets sprinkled at the end of December and the beginning of January. And if we want this year to be better than last year, it's kind of on us to do the work and to take care of each other and ourselves and our communities to make that a reality. So I've just been keeping that front of mind as we go through another challenging month right now, but hopefully we can do what needs to be done to make this year better. That's it for me.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
Cool.
David R.
Yeah. Well, the one big piece of news that I have is the case I've talked to you guys a little bit about. I found out late last month that I'm going to the Supreme Court, Minnesota Supreme Court. So I got to possibly get to change the law in Minnesota to help people that are on pretrial release be free from unreasonable searches and seizures, which would, in theory, reduce interactions between citizens and cops. So that's exciting. Probably lose, but you never know. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I was excited about that. So.
Awesome. That's super exciting, David. David S.
I'm going back to shoveling. I think 2020 was a year where we got to know a lot of our neighbors even more than we had on either side of our houses. And it's just been great to see through every time that weather does come, people looking out for one another and taking care of people's driveways and sidewalks. And I'm hopeful for 2021. That's it.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Mike.
I've been thinking quite a bit lately about, as many of you know, it's slated for children to be able to go back into schools here in February. And while, there's a lot of different opinions out there surrounding that decision, and it's not really about that. It's beyond that point. We're looking over the course of 2021 as there's a rollout of vaccines and so forth, of getting of reintegration essentially back into, I don't know, a normalcy in our culture. But we've spent the last we've spent a year now indoctrinating anxiety surrounding these situations into a lot of kids out there. I'm seeing that with my kindergartner. I know there's other people that have kids and the main thing is just, it's going to take some time. So I don't know, it's been on the mind. It's been something that we've been talking about in our clinic a lot, and it's just be mindful of that, be understanding of kids as they're going through the process of trying to kind of relearn this after we've so efficiently and quickly moved completely in the other direction, to be able to kind of pull them out of those situations. So, there's not a lot attached to that. It's just a lot of thoughts. It's gonna take the support of community members and even groups like this to be able to flow and organize and get resources out there to people in this coming year or two that it's going to take. So.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. BJ.
Yeah, it's thinking that we're starting to go into what would be King KFNA's big event season. It's hard to think about the fact that there won't be empty bowls this year. That would be coming up in just a couple of weeks. So trying to find that joy. So Chris H, I had the same thing of walking through MLK Park, and nothing is more joyful than seeing kids sledding down a hill. But since Chris gave that one, I'm going to say spending time in the neighborhood and getting those, with the leaves gone, you get a lot of the peekaboo of downtown that you don't get year round. So being out and about right now, you see a lot of the peekaboo of downtown, which has given me some joy right now.
Awesome. Thanks, BJ. Sarah T.
One other quick update from the recruitment work group is just thinking about our annual meeting has not been determined yet, but it's not too early to start thinking about if you are planning to run for re-election for the board at that annual meeting, or to be thinking about who else in the neighborhood we might want to encourage to get out there and run this year. Also, the executive committee will also be not re-elected, up for election at the annual meeting. And so please also think about if you are interested in serving as either president, vice president, secretary, or treasurer, and know that you can connect with any of us who are currently serving in those positions about what that looks like. But yeah, we want people who are interested to let us know about that. And then just a fun thing, my kids and I have been wandering the alleys in Kingfield looking for discarded Christmas trees and pulling them home on a sled and then planting them in our backyard. So we have a forest of discarded Christmas trees in our backyard. And last night we lit candles on them and had a bonfire. So if anybody wants to stop by and see our 10 Christmas trees, one of which may be yours if you celebrate Christmas, we would love to have you stop over and see it.
And just as a reminder, if anyone doesn't know if they're up for re-election, here are the people on the board that are up for re-election. Sarah Cheetah, Mike, David Robbins, Alice, myself, Chris Hong, and Lisa.
Awesome. Thanks, BJ. And I will just thank you for bringing that up, Sarah T. I think I was supposed, I don't know who was supposed, I think, yeah. Anyway, I thank you for remembering because I totally forgot about that executive committee discussion. And I will just say at our last executive committee meeting, we want to build leadership and power in folks. So if you want to be on the executive committee, if you want to take a leadership role, you are not taking somebody's place. If you want to be the president of the Kingfield Neighborhood Association, you can be the president of the Kingfield Neighborhood Association. I am not standing in your way. So please know that. I think there's been some, at least on my early time on the board, there's some hesitancy about people running against other people. I don't want to speak for all executive committee members, but I would say generally, please, if this is something you're interested in, any of us are ready to help you do it and want you to. So thank you again, Sarah T, for bringing that up. Katie.
I loved the lanterns in December and my block really loved them, and a couple blocks over, so probably like 4,500 block of, maybe it was Harriet. I don't know if they made, every single house made colored snow globe lanterns. Completely amazing. Next level. And then I'll just say, I'll lift up the vaccination, COVID worry, interest in if there's a role for neighborhood orgs. I feel concerned about the moment. I feel thrilled about vaccination and concerned about the moment this year where we're going to have not just dual, but multiple level society of the vaccinated and unvaccinated, and how we help have public education and support of people navigating that time, which is going to happen at some point this year.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. L'Oreal.
Yeah, so I guess I'm sure this question will be answered soon, but I guess I just have questions about getting started as a fresh board member, and just wondering if there's any resources that I can educate myself on to be my best self for you guys.
I will say this maybe just at the closing of the meeting. Yes, there is. And yes, at least I know I'll reach out, and I know the recruitment team's been talking about this. A few of us have talked about engagement with board members in the past, and then COVID hit. And so, so yeah, we'll be reaching both out to you and to Katie to kind of talk a little bit to do whether it's training or kind of some individual discussions. But I know as I would like to speak with both of you just to kind of have that discussion, and I'm sure we'll have some other materials, and I know we do have some other materials to share with you. So thank you for bringing that up, and we'll be in contact soon. So I think that is all we've got for today. Sorry, we're a little bit late. We try to get out at 9, but I think this has been a little bit of a unique meeting. So I'll leave it there. So thank you for coming. Congratulations to our 2 newest board members, and look forward to having you. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.